Hey there everybody. So this week you're doing the chapter on the circle, and it's a nice easy chapter really because well, everyone likes circles, don't they? Now up at the top here is your vocabulary section, and it is really important to know these words and know what they mean. So the center of the circle is bang in the very middle. It's not off to one side or anything, it's right in the very center. The green line all the way across is the diameter from side to side. The radius is any line that goes out from the center to the edge, so that's a radius, and obviously a diameter is two radiuses, isn't it? But we don't say radiuses, we say radii because it's actually a Latin word. So you can say the diameter is twice the radius, d equals 2 or you can say diameter divided by 2 equals radius, d over 2 equals radius. And that will be useful later on when you're in 6th class and when you're in 1st year learning how to do this with formulas. The circumference is all the way around. It's basically the perimeter of a circle has a special name. It's called the circumference. Then when you start looking at bits of the circle, the slice of the pie is called a sector, and the special sector that is a quarter of the circle has a special name. It's called a quadrant. And if you're just talking about part of the circumference, it's called an arc. All right, now you've got some definitions down here and some true or false. Then on we go down here and you're going to be measuring with your protractor. The most important thing to remember with your protractor is that you put the center of your protractor, the little crosshairs, right on the center of this angle that you're going to measure, and that you line your protractor up with the bottom part of your angle. It'll depend what way you hold your book, what you decide is the bottom. If you've got your book going sideways, that could be the bottom of it. Then it's very important to decide which scale you're going to use, because if your circle, or pardon me, if your angle is going in one direction, sort of seeming to open over to the right, you're going to use one scale. If your angle seems to open over to the left, you will use the other scale. But you look down at the bottom of your protractor and you'll see the two scales start at 0, so you always start at 0. So if you're going anti-clockwise, look for the scale that starts with 0. If you're going clockwise, look for the scale that starts with 0 and read off those numbers. And if these are not long enough, you can always use your ruler to extend them so that they're going to break out where the numbers are on your protractor and you can read the angle a little bit better. Okay, so looking at the next page, you're going to be looking at diameters and looking at radius. And of course, as we said on the last page, the diameter is 2 times the radius. So if they've told you that the diameter or the radius is 11 centimeters, we don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that the diameter is going to be 2 times that. 2 11s are. Yeah, you know it. Okay, when you're drawing a circle, you're practicing with your protractor. The one hint I would, your compass. The one thing I would say about a compass is when you put your pencil into your compass, make sure you have it closed first of all, and that the little pointy bit and your pencil line up together, and you make sure it's nicely secured, that you twist the little ring on it to make sure your pencil is held properly. The odd time your pencil will never be held properly unless you kind of prop it with a little piece of paper on your pencil. Some of them are a little bit unreliable that way, but this gives you the instructions on how to do it. Now, if you like drawing circles, it's one of the best art activities you can do, and I'd suggest that you go and Google Islamic art, because there's beautiful Islamic designs on tiles and they all start with circles, and you could spend a long time exploring it. It would be a lot of fun. Now on the next page, rather than talking about the circumference, we're starting to talk about the area. how many squares a circle occupies. And as you can see, circles can be quite tricky to estimate the area of because they don't line up properly at all. So they've given you a sort of an algorithm for doing it. Count all the full squares and count all of the half squares that are more than half full. If they're not more than half full, don't count them. So it kind of all works out. Like in this case here, you're counting this as a full square, even though it's not full. But of course, you're ignoring this one. So the two of them kind of balance each other out. And you can get a good estimate. So on this one, you're calculating the radius, which is from the center out to the edge, the diameter, which is all the way across, and then the approximate area. So that's about it really with circles. Do have a look at the Islamic art. You'll have great fun with it if you decide to do it. Okay, bye.